You're 18 years old, and everyone thinks your dream is a mistake. Your friends laugh when you tell them what you want to do. Not because they're cruel, because they think it's impossible. Your family worries constantly. Your mother asks why you would choose a path that could get you hurt. Your father tells you there are easier ways to prove yourself. Even military veterans shake their heads when they hear your plan. They don't question your determination, they question your chances. The numbers aren't on your side. The training is brutal. The standards are unforgiving. Most people never make it. Many quit long before they get close. And almost nobody expects someone like you to survive the journey. For a while, their doubts become your doubts. You lie awake at night, wondering if they're right. Maybe you're chasing something that was never meant for you. Maybe courage isn't enough. Maybe determination isn't enough. Maybe wanting it more than everyone else still won't matter. But every morning, the dream is still there. Waiting. Growing louder, refusing to leave. So you make a choice. Not because you're fearless, because you're tired of wondering what would happen if you never tried. 10 years from now, young recruits will hear your name. Some will study your story. Others will use it as proof that impossible things can be done. But none of that exists yet. Right now, you're just an 18-year-old woman standing at the edge of the hardest decision of your life. And before anyone believes in you, before you earn respect, before you become one of the elite, you have to survive. The question is, can you? Chapter 1. The Girl Who Doesn't Belong. Long before you ever put on a uniform, people were already telling you who you were supposed to be. You were the girl who climbed trees higher than everyone else. The girl who raced boys across empty fields and refused to lose. The girl who came home covered in dirt, bruises, and scraped knees. Most people assumed you would grow out of it. You never did. While your friends talked about celebrities and social media, you watched documentaries about soldiers. You read books about survival. You became fascinated by people who pushed themselves beyond what seemed possible. You weren't interested in comfort. You were interested in capability. You wanted to know how far a person could go before they reached their limit. And more importantly, you wanted to know if limits were real. As you got older, that fascination turned into a dream. You wanted to join the military. Not someday. Not maybe. You wanted it more than anything. The reactions were predictable. Some people laughed. Others thought it was a phase. A few tried to be supportive, but even they sounded doubtful. Why choose something so difficult? There are easier careers. That's not really a path for someone like you. Nobody could explain exactly what they meant by that last sentence. But you understood. Every time they said it. Every time they looked surprised. Every time they suggested a different future. The message was the same. You don't belong there. Here's what they never told you about being a woman trying to enter a world built for men. You don't just have to be good enough. You have to be undeniable. Because the moment you make a mistake, it won't just be your mistake. It will be proof of what they already suspected. That you were never supposed to be here. You carry that weight every single day. You carry it silently. Because complaining isn't an option. And neither is failing. For a while, you tried ignoring the doubt. Then you tried proving them wrong. Eventually, you stopped caring what they thought. Because every time someone doubted you, the dream became stronger. The day you signed your enlistment papers felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. There was excitement. There was fear. There was no turning back. A few months later, you arrived for basic training carrying a duffel bag and far more confidence than experience. That confidence lasted less than a day. The instructors didn't care about your dream. They didn't care about your motivation. They didn't care how badly you wanted it. They cared about results. The days started before sunrise. The workouts felt endless. Your muscles burned constantly. Your boots rubbed your feet raw. Every mistake was corrected immediately. Every weakness was exposed. Nothing looked like the movies. Nothing felt heroic. There were no dramatic speeches. No inspiring music. Just exhaustion. The kind that settles deep into your bones. For the first time, you realized something important. Wanting something and earning it were two completely different things. You had spent years imagining yourself as a soldier. Now you had to become one. Slowly, the confidence that brought you here began transforming into something more useful. Humility. You stopped worrying about proving people wrong. You focused on surviving the next day. Then the next. Then the next. Weeks later, As basic training finally came to an end, you felt proud of what you had accomplished. You were stronger, faster, more disciplined. For a brief moment, you thought the hardest part might be behind you. Then someone explained what came next. And that's when you discovered a terrifying truth. Basic training had been the easy part. Chapter 2. Breaking the old version of you. The first few weeks after basic training are a shock. Not because the training gets harder, because you finally understand how far behind you really are. Back home, you were considered tough. You could run farther than most people, push harder than most people, outwork most people. Here, everyone can, and many can do it better. During endurance runs, you finish near the bottom. Not almost last. Last. You cross the finish line, and everyone is already drinking water, already catching their breath, already moving on to the next thing. A male recruit glances over at you, not with anger, not with cruelty, just a slow, quiet shake of his head, like he's already written your ending. You say nothing. You take a sip of water. You file that look away somewhere deep. You will think about it later, when you need it. During strength assessments, others outperform you. During field exercises, small mistakes seem to follow you everywhere. One day you misread instructions and cost your entire group extra work. Nobody yells. Nobody insults you. The disappointment in their faces hurts more. And beneath the disappointment, you catch something else. Confirmation. Like they had expected this. Like they'd been waiting for exactly this moment. You lie awake that night replaying every mistake, every missed opportunity, every weakness. For the first time since arriving, you begin to wonder if everyone was right. Maybe you don't belong here. Maybe determination isn't enough. Maybe effort isn't enough. Maybe there are limits after all. The doubt grows quietly. It follows you through workouts. It follows you through classes. It follows you into every challenge. Then one morning, something changes. Not because someone inspires you. Not because a mentor appears. Not because an instructor gives a motivational speech. The opposite. You realize nobody is coming. Nobody is going to lower the standards. Nobody is going to make this easier. Nobody is going to carry you. Nobody owes you success. The military doesn't reward potential. It rewards performance. That realization hurts, but it also frees you. Because if nobody is coming to save you, then the solution is simple. You have to save yourself. From that day forward, your routine changes. You wake up before everyone else. You run while the world is still dark. You add miles when nobody is watching. You stay after training to practice skills that others have already mastered. You spend nights studying procedures, equipment, and tactics while everyone else sleeps. The progress is frustratingly slow. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Most improvements are invisible. You don't suddenly become the best. You don't magically rise to the top. But little by little, things begin to change. Your run times improve. Your confidence returns. Tasks that once felt impossible become manageable. The gap starts closing. Not because you're gifted, because you're relentless. For the first time, you stop comparing yourself to everyone around you. You focus only on becoming better than the person you were yesterday. And that mindset changes everything. The doubt that once followed you everywhere begins to lose its grip. In its place grows something stronger. Not confidence. Confidence can disappear. Something deeper. Determination. The kind that survives failure. The kind that survives embarrassment. The kind that keeps moving forward no matter what. Eventually, the instructors notice. Not with praise. Not with compliments. Just a simple statement. You're ready for the next step. The words should make you feel proud. Instead, they make your stomach drop. Because the next step has a name. Selection. And selection doesn't care how hard you've worked. It only cares whether you can survive. Chapter 3. The Selection. You know the moment you arrive that this place is different. Nobody welcomes you. Nobody explains what to expect. Nobody tells you how to succeed. The instructors barely speak. When they do, every word sounds like a warning. Around you are candidates from every corner of the military. Some are bigger than you, some are faster. Some have years more experience. Every one of them believes they belong here. And every one of them has noticed that you're the only woman. You feel it without anyone saying a word. The glances that last a half second too long. The slight pause in conversation when you walk into a room. The unspoken question hanging in the air. Why is she here? You don't answer it. You don't have to. That's what the selection is for. The first few days are a blur of stress and uncertainty. Physical tests, timed events, heavy rucksacks, long runs, constant evaluation. The strange part is that nobody tells you how you're doing. No scores, no rankings, no feedback. You could be excelling, you could be failing, you have no idea. All you know is that every morning you're still here, and every morning fewer people are. The days become harder, the rucks become heavier, the distances become longer, sleep becomes a luxury, food becomes an afterthought. Your world shrinks to simple calculations. One more mile, one more hill, one more step, then another. The weather doesn't care about your exhaustion. Rain soaks your clothes. Cold settles into your joints. Blisters form beneath your feet and burst before they have time to heal. By day 4, your left sock is soaked through with something darker than sweat. You already know what it is. You don't look down. Every step forward feels like pressing your bare foot onto broken glass. You stop counting miles. You stop thinking about the finish. You only think about the next footfall, then the one after that. You have learned, by now, that pain is not the enemy. Thinking about pain is the enemy. So you stop thinking. You just move. Nobody complains. The people who complain don't last long. Every day, someone disappears. A bed sits empty. A seat at breakfast remains untouched. No announcements. No explanations. Just another reminder that this place wins more often than people do. You begin to understand the real purpose of selection. It isn't testing strength. It isn't testing speed. It's testing what happens when everything inside you wants to quit. Because eventually, everyone reaches that point. Your moment arrives during a brutal march. Hours have passed. Maybe more. You've stopped checking. The rucksack feels impossibly heavy. Every muscle aches. Your shoulders burn. Your legs feel like they're carrying someone else's weight. Then you step wrong. A sharp pain shoots through your ankle. You stumble. For a moment, you think you're going down. You catch yourself. But the damage is done. Every step now hurts. The miles ahead suddenly feel impossible. You keep moving. For a while. Then the exhaustion catches up. The pain grows worse. Your thoughts become dangerous. Maybe this isn't your day. Maybe you've already proven enough. Maybe nobody would blame you. Then you see it. A truck parked in the distance. Simple. Ordinary. Waiting. You know exactly what it means. People who quit climb into that truck. The suffering ends. The pain ends. The pressure ends. You imagine sitting down, taking the weight off your shoulders, finally resting. The temptation feels overwhelming. Nobody would know how close you came. Nobody would see the battle happening inside your head. The instructors are standing far away, expressionless as always, watching, waiting. You stare at the truck. Then you look down the trail ahead. The next step hurts. The step after that hurts more. But something shifts. You realize the decision isn't really about the march. It isn't about the pain. It isn't even about selection. It's about who you're becoming. The old version of you would have looked for a reason to stop. The person standing here now is looking for a reason to continue. So you take another step, then another, then another. The truck stays where it is. You keep moving. Hours later, the march finally ends. You're exhausted, injured, barely standing. But you're still here. And in selection, sometimes that's all that matters. The days continue. The challenges continue. The uncertainty never leaves. Then, after weeks of suffering, waiting, and wondering, the candidates are assembled one final time. The instructors step forward, a list appears, and one by one, they begin calling out names. Chapter 4: Earning the Beret. The room is silent. Dozens of candidates stand shoulder to shoulder, trying not to show how nervous they are. Weeks of suffering have led to this moment. Every march, every sleepless night, every moment you wanted to quit. It all comes down to a list of names. An instructor steps forward and begins reading. One by one, candidates hear their futures decided. Some names are called. Others aren't. The wait feels endless. Then you hear it. Your name. For a moment, you aren't sure you heard correctly. Then it sinks in. You've been selected. Relief crashes over you like a wave. You made it. You survived. You proved you belonged. But the feeling doesn't last long. Because almost immediately, someone reminds you of a harsh reality. Selection wasn't the destination. It was the invitation. The real work starts now. The months that follow become some of the most demanding of your life. You learn weapons systems from around the world. Not just how to fire them, how to maintain them, repair them, teach others to use them. Then come communications, radios, encryption, signals, systems that have to work perfectly when lives depend on them. Next comes medical training. Long days learning how to treat wounds, stop bleeding, and keep people alive long enough to reach help. Mistakes aren't measured in points. They're measured in consequences. Then there are languages. Hours spent learning how to communicate with people from cultures completely different from your own. New words, new customs, new ways of thinking, and throughout it all, leadership training. Because one day, someone else may depend on your decisions. Someone else's survival may rest on your judgment. Every skill feels impossible at first. Every lesson exposes another weakness. But slowly, the pieces begin to come together. Months turn into years. The person who arrived at selection starts to disappear. In her place stands someone stronger, more disciplined, more capable, more prepared. Finally, the day arrives. A simple ceremony. No fireworks, no dramatic speeches. Just a group of graduates standing together after years of sacrifice. An instructor places the beret in your hands, the symbol you've imagined for so long. Then comes the badge, the moment you've chased since the beginning. For a second, everything feels still. The dream is real. You made it. But as the ceremony ends and people begin celebrating, another thought enters your mind. A quiet realization. The beret isn't proof that you've finished. It's proof that you're finally ready to begin. And very soon, you'll discover something nobody warned you about. Getting here was difficult. Living this life will cost far more. Chapter 5. The missions nobody sees. Your first deployment begins with 100 expectations. Most of them are wrong. Years of movies, news reports, and stories have painted a picture in your mind. Constant action. Endless firefights. Heroic moments that change history. The reality is far more complicated. And far more important. When you arrive in country, nobody hands you a dramatic mission. Nobody points toward a battlefield and tells you to charge forward. Instead, your days are spent learning, observing, listening, building relationships. You quickly discover that Special Forces isn't just about fighting. It's about influence. Your team works alongside local partners. Some are soldiers, some are police officers, some are community leaders trying to keep their towns from falling apart. Every day becomes an exercise in trust. There is one man you will never forget. His name is Karim. He is a local commander, maybe 50 years old, with calloused hands and a face that has seen too many seasons of war. The first time you brief him on a tactical decision, he interrupts you mid-sentence, not because he disagrees, because he doesn't believe a word coming out of your mouth yet. That's fine. You don't need him to believe you. You need him to work with you. 3 weeks later, after a raid goes exactly how you planned, he finds you at the edge of the compound. He doesn't shake your hand. He just nods. One nod. Slow. Deliberate. From Karim, that means everything. You teach tactics. You share knowledge. You train people who may eventually protect their own communities long after you've left. At first, it feels less exciting than you imagined. Then you begin to understand the stakes. A well-trained ally can prevent a future attack. A trusted relationship can stop violence before it starts. A single piece of intelligence can save lives months down the road. The victories rarely make headlines. Most people never know they happened. But they matter. The pressure is constant. One careless decision can damage years of trust. One misunderstanding can create new problems. One mistake can place innocent people in danger. For the first time, you realize that success isn't measured by how tough you are. It's measured by how responsible you are. Then comes the day you almost lose everything. It happens without warning. the way the worst things always do. A mission that should have been routine. A route that intelligence said was clear. A decision you make in 4 seconds that you will spend 4 years revisiting. Something goes wrong. People are hurt. Equipment is lost. The mission fails. In the debrief afterward, there is no yelling. There is no punishment. There is something worse. Silence. And then, in that silence, one senior officer says what everyone is already thinking. You made the call. Own it. You do. You sit with it every night for the next 3 weeks. You replay the moment. The information you had. The information you didn't have. The fraction of a second between decision and consequence. You ask yourself the hardest question. Was the decision wrong, or was the outcome just bad? You never find a clean answer. You learn to live without one. And slowly, something shifts. You come back from that failure different. Not broken. Better. Because leadership isn't built in the moments that go right. It's built in the ones that don't. Local partners seek your advice. Teammates trust your judgment. Leaders rely on your assessments. The same person who once struggled to prove she belonged is now becoming someone others depend on. You become trusted. You become respected. You become necessary. And strangely enough, that's far more satisfying than any fantasy you once had about glory. Because real success isn't about being the hero. It's about making sure everyone gets home. Months pass. The missions continue. The responsibility grows heavier. And with every success comes a new realization. The job is giving you exactly what you wanted. Purpose, challenge, meaning. But nothing this valuable comes for free. Soon, you'll discover the truth. Every veteran eventually learns. Every achievement carries a cost. And sooner or later, the bill always arrives. Chapter 6. The Cost of Becoming Elite. The first few years pass faster than you expect. 1 deployment becomes 2. 2 become 3. Training cycles blend together. New missions replace old ones. The challenges never stop. Neither does your progress. Your reputation grows. Your confidence grows. Your responsibilities grow. From the outside, it looks like success. And in many ways, it is. You've achieved the dream that once seemed impossible. You've earned respect. You've proven yourself. You've become part of something very few people ever experience. But success has a habit of sending invoices long after the celebration ends. At first, the costs seem small. A missed birthday, a holiday spent thousands of miles from home, a family gathering you promised to attend next year. You tell yourself you'll make it up later. There will be time. There is always supposed to be time. Then the years start adding up. Your younger brother gets married. You watch through a screen. Your parents celebrate anniversaries without you. Friends move away, start families, build lives that continue whether you're present or not. Each absence seems insignificant on its own. Together, they become something heavier. Relationships begin to struggle. People who once promised to wait grow tired of waiting. Phone calls become shorter. Messages become less frequent. Eventually, some relationships simply end. Not because anyone stopped caring, because distance is its own kind of enemy. The job keeps moving forward, even when parts of your life don't. Then come the losses you can never prepare for. Her name is Rivera. She was your training partner for 2 years. The person who made everyone laugh during the worst days. The one who could do perfect impressions of every instructor. The one who, at the end of a brutal 12-hour day, would look at you completely deadpan and say, "Same time tomorrow?" She was your best friend, in the way that military friendships become fast, total, no room for anything shallow. She doesn't come back from the deployment. The phone call comes the way those calls always come. Too early in the morning. A voice on the other end that takes too long to start speaking. At the funeral, her daughter stands at the front of the room holding a folded flag. She is 7 years old. She keeps looking toward the door. You don't look away. You owe Rivera that much. Weeks after, you open your phone and find a voice message you forgot she sent. 2 months old. Just her, laughing about something stupid that happened at the base. You listen to it 4 times. Then you close your phone and go back to work. Because that's the only thing you know how to do. The experience changes you. Not dramatically, not overnight, but permanently. You begin to understand that being elite isn't glamorous. It's expensive. The price isn't measured in money. It's measured in time, relationships, memories, people. The world sees achievement. The people living it see sacrifice. Years later, you look around and realize how much has changed. The nervous recruit who arrived hoping to prove herself is gone. The person standing here now carries experience, scars, and lessons that can only be earned the hard way. And that's when you notice something unexpected. When new recruits enter the room, they look at you the same way you once looked at the veterans. They're watching, listening, learning. Whether you realize it or not, you've become the example. Chapter 7. The Woman They Never Expected. You don't notice the change at first. It happens slowly. One day, you're the newest person in the room. The next, you're the one everyone turns toward when they have questions. Years have passed. Deployments have come and gone. Training exercises that once terrified you now feel routine. Challenges that once seemed impossible have become part of everyday life. Without realizing it, you've become a leader. Not because of a title, not because someone handed you authority, because people trust you. And trust is earned one decision at a time. A new group of recruits arrives. They're younger than you remember being, nervous, determined, uncertain. You recognize the look immediately, because you used to wear it yourself. They remind you of the person who arrived years ago, carrying more confidence than experience. The person desperate to prove she belonged. The person who thought strength was the answer to everything. Now you know better. Strength matters, but it isn't enough. Over the next few weeks, you watch the recruits struggle through the same challenges that once tested you. You see them make mistakes. You see them doubt themselves. You see them fight battles nobody else can see. Some grow stronger. Some decide the path isn't for them. And some discover capabilities they never knew they possessed. One afternoon, after a long training day, a young woman approaches you. She is the only woman in her cohort. You already know what that feels like. She looks exhausted, determined, a little intimidated. She hesitates for a moment before asking the question she's probably been carrying for days. How did you make it? The room is quiet now. A few other recruits have stopped moving. They're pretending not to listen. They're listening. You almost laugh. Not because the question is funny, because the answer is so much bigger than she realizes. You look at her for a moment, at the tiredness behind her eyes, at the defiance she's working hard to keep in her spine. You remember that face. You wore it once. For a moment, your mind drifts backward. You remember the people who doubted you, the failures that kept you awake at night, the marches that felt impossible, the relationships that didn't survive, the sacrifices nobody saw. Rivera, the moments you nearly walked away, all the pain, all the uncertainty, all the years spent becoming someone stronger than you thought possible. The young woman waits. Finally, you speak. Nobody believed I could. Silence. You let it sit. So I stopped asking them. She stares at you. The recruits nearby haven't moved. You continue. They will watch you more closely than anyone else. They will remember your mistakes longer. They will expect you to prove yourself in rooms where other people get the benefit of the doubt automatically. That's not fair. You pause. No, it isn't. But you already know that. You knew it before you got here. And you came anyway. She nods slowly. So what do I do with that? You think about it for a second. A real second. Not a rehearsed answer. You use it. Every time someone underestimates you, that's information. They've handed you the advantage. They've already decided you're less. So you don't have to convince them. You just have to perform. And when I mess up, own it faster than anyone else would. And then fix it faster than anyone else could. The room is quiet for another moment. Then she straightens. Not all the way, but a little, like something settled. And as she walks away, you realize something. The lesson was never really about special forces. It wasn't about military service. It wasn't about earning a beret or completing a mission. Those things mattered, but they weren't the most important part. The real battle happened long before any of that. It happened every time you chose not to quit. Every time you refused to let someone else define your limits. Every time you kept moving forward despite the doubt. That's what changed your life. Not talent, not luck, belief. The belief that your future should be decided by your actions, not someone else's expectations. And as you look around the room, You realize something that would have seemed impossible years ago. You are no longer the woman trying to prove she belongs. You are the woman proving that others can. Ending. When you first started this journey, everyone had an opinion. Friends, family, veterans, strangers. Some doubted you. Some worried about you. Some quietly hoped you would choose an easier path. And if they're being honest, many of them were asking the same question. Was it worth it? Was the pain worth it? The sacrifices? The years? The people you lost? The moments you can never get back? It's a question you've asked yourself more than once, usually during the quiet moments. The moments when there are no missions, no training, no distractions, just memories. But after everything you've been through, you've realized something important. The hardest battle was never proving everyone else wrong. It was refusing to quit on yourself, refusing to surrender when doubt felt stronger than belief, refusing to accept limits created by people who never walked your path, refusing to become the person who wonders what might have happened if she had simply kept going. That was the real test, and that was the real victory. Somewhere right now, another young woman is standing where you once stood. She has the same dream, the same fears, the same questions. People are probably telling her the same things they once told you. That it's too difficult, too unlikely, too ambitious. She doesn't know what waits ahead. The failures, the sacrifices, the lessons, the victories. She only knows that something inside her refuses to let the dream go. And so she takes the first step. Just as you once did. The journey begins again. The cycle continues. And somewhere in the future, another story is waiting to be written.